Part 2: How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Welcome to Skyscape. 6 ways to make people like you. Number 1. Become genuinely interested in other people. Do this and you will be welcome anywhere. Did you ever stop to think that a dog is the only animal that doesn't have to work for a living? A hen has to lay eggs, a cow has to give milk, and a canary has to sing. But a dog makes his living by giving nothing but love. And you know that behind this affection on his part, there's no ulterior motive. He doesn't want to sell you any real estate, and he doesn't want to marry you. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Alfred Adler, the famous Viennese psychologist, wrote a book entitled What Life Should Mean to You. In that book he says, it is the individual who is not interested in his fellow man who has the greatest difficulties in life and provides the greatest injury to others. It is from among such individuals that all human failures spring. If we want to make friends, let's put ourselves out to do things for others. Things that require energy, time, unselfishness, and thoughtfulness. Famous old Roman poet Publius Syrus remarked, "We are interested in others when they are interested in us." Carnegie elaborates and says, "A show of interest, as with every other principle of human relationships, must be sincere. It must pay off not only for the person showing interest, but for the person receiving the attention. It is a two-way street. Both parties benefit. If you want others to like you, if you want to develop real friendship, if you want to help others at the same time as you help yourself, keep this principle in mind. Become genuinely interested in other people." Number 2. Smile. A simple way to make a good first impression. Actions speak louder than words, and a smile says, "I like you. You make me happy. I'm glad to see you." That is why dogs make such a hit. They are so glad to see us that they almost jump out of their skins. So naturally, we're glad to see them. A baby smile has the same effect. Professor James V. McConnell, a psychologist at the University of Michigan, expressed his feelings about a smile. People who smile, he said, tend to manage, teach, and sell more effectively and raise happier children. There's far more information in a smile than a frown. That's why encouragement is much more effective teaching advice than punishments. The chairman of the board of directors of one of the largest rubber companies in the United States told Carnegie that, according to his observations, people rarely succeed at anything unless they have fun doing it. Carnegie says, you don't feel like smiling? Then what? 2 things. First, force yourself to smile. If you're alone, force yourself to whistle or hum a tune or sing. Act as if you were already happy, and that will tend to make you happy. Here's the way the psychologist and philosopher William James put it. Action seems to follow feeling, but really action and feeling go together. And by regulating the action, which is under the more direct control of the will, we can indirectly regulate the feeling, which is not. Thus, the sovereign voluntary path to cheerfulness, if our cheerfulness be lost, is to sit up cheerfully and to act and speak as if cheerfulness were already there. Everybody in the world is seeking happiness, and there's one sure way to find it. That is by controlling your thoughts. Happiness doesn't depend on outward conditions, it depends on inner conditions. It isn't what you have, or who you are, or where you are, or what you are doing that makes you happy or unhappy. It is what you think about it, Shakespeare said. There's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Abe Lincoln once remarked, most folks are about as happy as they make their minds to be. Number 3. Remember that a person's name is that person the sweetest and most important sound in a language. If you don't do this, you're headed for trouble. Half the time we are introduced to a stranger, we chat a few minutes and can't even remember his or her name by the time we say goodbye. One of the first lessons a politician learns is this: to recall a voter's name is statesmanship, to forget it is oblivion. And the ability to remember names is almost as important in business and social contacts as it this in politics. Napoleon III, Emperor of France and nephew of the great Napoleon, boasted that in spite of all his royal duties, he could remember the name of every person he met. His technique? Simple. If he didn't hear the name distinctly, he said, "So sorry, I didn't get the name clearly." Then, if it was an unusual name, he would say, "How is it spelled?" During the conversation, he took the trouble to repeat the name several times and tried to associate it in his mind with the person's features, expression, and general appearance. If this person was someone of importance, Napoleon went to even further pains. As soon as His Royal Highness was alone, he wrote the name down on a piece of paper, looked at it, concentrated on it, fixed it securely in his mind, and then tore up the paper. We should be aware of the magic contained in a name and realize that this single item is holy and completely owned by the person with whom we are dealing and nobody else. The name sets the individual apart. It makes him or her unique among all others. So remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Number 4. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. If you want to know how to make people shun you and laugh at you behind your back and even despise you, here is the recipe. Never listen to anyone for long. Talk incessantly about yourself. If you have an idea while the other person is talking, don't wait for him or her to finish. Bust right in and interrupt in the middle of the sentence. So if you aspire to be a good conversationalist, be an attentive listener. To be interesting, be interested. Ask questions that other people will enjoy answering. Encourage them to talk about themselves and their accomplishments. Remember that the people you are talking to are 100 times more interested in themselves and their wants and problems than they are in you and your problems. A person's toothache means more to that person than a famine in China, which kills 1 million people. A boil on one's neck interests one more than 40 earthquakes in Africa. Think of that the next time you start a conversation, Carnegie says. Number 5. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. How to interest people. Talk in terms of the other person's interest pays off for both parties. Talk about the person's hobbies and show interest. Be open to what they are sharing with you and see them light up and become more vibrant as they talk about the interest and hobbies, and see how they become more interested. Number 6. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. How to make people like you instantly. The all-important law: always make the other person feel important. Philosophers have been speculating on the rules of human relationships for thousands of years, and out of all that speculation there has evolved only one important precept. It is not new. It is as old as history. You want approval of those with whom you come into contact. You want recognition of your true worth. You want the feeling that you are important in your little world. The unvarnished truth is that almost all the people you meet feel themselves superior to you in some way, and the sure way to their hearts is to let them realize in some subtle way that you recognize their importance and recognize it sincerely. Disraeli, one of the shrewdest men who ever ruled British Empire, said, "Talk to people about themselves and they will listen for hours." Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Follow along for more to come, and until then, cheerio.